Welcome to those of you joining us via YouTube from around the world. I am Jim Brown, the president of National Test Pilot School and your host for this graduation ceremony. Thank you for logging in, like I said, from around the world to show your support for our soon-to-be graduates. We spared you the formalities of our opening ceremony and the indignity of watching us eat. Now we come to the true highlight of the evening. The year 2024 has seen National Test Pilot School flourish with record numbers of students enrolled. We are also graduating the largest rotary wing cohort since the school's founding. There's evidence that we're capturing students from other test pilot schools, which validates our presentation of the curriculum. Our simulator facility is populated with 1 helicopter and 2 fixed-wing variable stability simulators. And in February, we'll have 3 F-18 gaming consoles. I get it, Hooter. Cockpits that'll support our systems curriculum in April of 2025. These will greatly enhance our instructional and research capability and give us the capability that no other test pilot school has in the world. Our manning continues to improve with qualified, experienced, and enthusiastic instructors. Looking outside our four walls, we have strategic partnerships established or developing with the FAA, Systems Technology Incorporated, Politecnico di Torino, and our partnership with Gulfstream is paying great dividends with the exchange of instructors, students, and simulators. 2024 has been a banner year, providing the financial basis for significant and possibly overdue infrastructure improvements. Our guest speaker tonight is Mr. Doug Benjamin, retired from the Boeing Company and a great personal friend of mine. You can read his biographical details in the program, but here are some highlights. He's a designated engineering representative flight test pilot. He retired as the chief test pilot of Boeing Military Transport. He's a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy and holds 2 master's degrees. Doug had a 22-year U.S. Air Force career with tours as a T-38 instructor pilot, then the F-106 and F-16. He's a graduate of EPNER, the French test pilot school, and went on to test F-16s and several classified prototypes. He's a fellow and past president of the Society of Experimental Test Pilots and winner of SCTP's highest honors, both the Kinchlow and Doolittle Awards. Doug has amassed over 11,000 flying hours in 97 aircraft types. Benj, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Chief. Well, I was prepared to do things the Boomer way, but I saw that I was going to catch flack for that. So I've got it on my phone too, but here's a cold hard fact: geezer eyes suck. So I'm doing it on my oversized iPhone. JB, thank you for that entertaining introduction. My job is to stop talking before you stop listening. I'll do my best. First of all, congratulations to the National Test Pilot School class of 2024, and welcome to the test profession. For some of you, I know you've been working in the test profession already, and this is just validation or new formal credentials for work you've already been doing. For others, it's the door opening to a new career. You're going to love it. For those of you working military fixed wing programs, you're going to be testing 5th generation fighters, their upgrades, new transport aircraft, capabilities, new roles, and replacing the last generation's training aircraft. For those working on civil programs, there are new concepts on the horizon beyond the traditional wing and tube designs that have been standards as long as we all have been alive. There's new power sources being explored. Sustainable aviation fuel, electric and hydrogen, all to reduce or eliminate carbon emissions. And of course, you've had a front row seat, some of you flying Chase, for the next generation of commercial supersonic airplanes with boom flight test. Big vertical lift crowd here. And there's a lot of things going on there too, including powered lift, its civil introduction in particular, and the Italians are leading the way on that. It's happening right now. We can't ignore the possibilities that advanced aerial mobility has. Whether the vehicles are actively or remotely piloted, there's got to be testers involved, not just for the individual vehicles, but unless you just want to recreate the 405 in Los Angeles, develop an advanced aerial mobility system into a well-functioning, reliable system of transportation. Finally, for those hoping to go into space, some of you might have that chance. This environment feels like it did for me back in elementary school, but this time for commercial space. It's the dawn with the commercial space age, with Virgin Galactic touching space, while others like SpaceX pushing into orbit and beyond, with the potential for a new space station, return to the moon, and on to Mars, and maybe even beyond. Testers will be involved. You learned the skills you needed here at National Test Pilot School. You've got your learner's permit, and now you're going to get your advanced degrees in it, in whatever you end up doing. You bring relevant skills to all these areas, and I foresee gainful employment for the rest of your career. Certainly worked for me. Well, I've told you what you already knew. Perhaps that's exactly the reason you came to National Test Pilot School, for all these possibilities. Okay, you worked hard over the year, and how are you going to succeed? Please indulge this boomer as I look in the rearview mirror. First, be ready for anything. There are standard things that you've thought about, briefed, and practiced for your entire career. But now as a tester, get rolled into test hazard analyses. You've thought about engine failures. You probably haven't thought before testing about engine failures of the non-test engine. Systems failures and what the ramifications mean to your test. Okay? How about some program challenges? On the P-8 program, the Navy was determined not to recognize any of the 737NGs over 100 million hours or its FAA certification. As a result, we essentially had to recertify the 737NG. Okay, I was very familiar with that, having worked on multiple 737NG programs. Shouldn't have been many surprises, and there shouldn't have been anything surprising about the P-8 airworthiness program, its stalls in particular. The first stalls were conducted in accordance with the guidance in Mill Handbook 1797, which for transport airplanes pushes you back to the FAA FARs. 14 CFR 25201D gives very specific guidance on what constitutes full stall. You've all been instructed on this. You know, nose down pitch, not really arrestable, deterrent buffet, or the column momentarily full aft. Okay, that's fine. That's all well and good. No surprises. Even with stores, even with asymmetric stores, okay? It was actually really fun getting to mentor the young Navy test pilots, going well beyond anything they'd seen in their 737 type training courses, where they were expected to recover at the first sign of stall, rather than continue deeper in the certification requirements. But then, a new requirement came down from the structures guys. We were supposed to fully stall the airplane, and rather than just have the control column momentarily full aft, we're supposed to hold it at full aft for at least 10 seconds. What could go wrong? Well, we asked where this requirement come from. The Navigator engineer said there was some history of P3 pilots flying their airplane that way and using the blown airflow from the four propellers over the straight wing to horse the airplane around. This habit had resulted in horizontal stabilizer buffet, with subsequent stabilizer spar fatigue cracks that after years of flight had required horizontal stabilizer replacement. Expensive and a long-term problem. Well, we pointed out that I don't have four propellers blowing on the wing. I've got two turbofans underneath the wing, and you don't fly jet swept wing airplanes that way. It was like wrestling with a pig. No, there was no way that that was going to happen. They overruled it. So then I said, oh, we'll spin. Big eyes, because nobody had really thought of that. This is just a structures requirement, not an aero requirement. And there's no fire requirement for departure resistance like there is for tactical aircraft in 1797. So since this requirement was initially was just for structural data, they had to think about, is this really worth the effort we're going to have to go into it? They thought long and hard and said, yeah, we got to have this data. So now we had to ensure we got the testing done safely. I made myself a required pilot crew member, not to pat myself on the back, but I had personally performed hundreds, if not thousands, of 737 stalls and on other Boeing airplanes. I was more experienced with stall behavior than anybody else in the test team. We set specific center of gravity requirements. Since this wasn't a stability and control test, there was no reason to further tempt fate by being as minimally stable, light aft typically is where you do that, as is normally required for stall testing. We had very strict fuel balancing requirements. We set specific altitude requirements to enter the stall and when to recover if things weren't going well. Finally, we insisted on doing this testing over land. I mean, the Navy likes to do testing out over the water. They're not worried about any obstacles in the water, but you can't get any horizon cues for any incipient yaw rates. When it came to execution, we built up dwell at the f-stop, then starting momentarily, then 3 seconds, then 5 seconds, and finally going to the full 10 seconds. And the results were refreshingly boring. The airplane just sat there in heavy, heavy buffet, but with no tendency to develop a yaw rate that needed to be corrected. Never had their damn data, and my hope is the data will stay in the can, never needed for the P8 service. But we were ready for anything. My second point, test is a very small community. In this room, I'm seeing someone who performed my 5-flight eval prior to me going into test pilot school a lifetime or two ago. Russ, it was wonderful to fly with you then. I see Tommy Morgenfeld, who taught me many things about how to be a test pilot, and JB, who taught me many things. So it's a small community. You will see your classmates again. You will likely work with some of your classmates again. Obviously, if you're going to the same test organization, that's not a shock, but here's a different one. After the Air Force, I went to Boeing. And while I was at Boeing, I was asked to reach out to Airbus to help form a manufacturer's flight test safety working group to help mitigate multiple challenges, especially during certification flight tests, and harmonize industry's response to certification agency proposals. My classmate from Epner, Fernando Alonso, vice president of flight test at Airbus. As you can imagine, there was some mutual angst over working with the competition. We set up a working group with participation not only with Airbus and Boeing, but also Gulfstream and Bombardier. The concept remains alive and well, with regular meetings well after all the original creators have retired. The Society of Experimental Test Pilots has about 2,500 members in all grades. The Society of Flight Test Engineers has over 1,700 members. That's up over 500 members in the last 5 years. It's rapidly growing. These people work together, play together. They know each other's strengths and foibles. Dennis O'Donoghue, a former vice president of Boeing Test and Evaluation, said you could find out about virtually any tester with just 2 phone calls. If the first person didn't know, he or she knew someone else who did. Another way of putting this is the toes you step on today may be connected to the butt you must kiss tomorrow. Does this mean you don't make the hard calls? Emphatically, no. But don't rejoice in calling the baby ugly. I saw a bumper sticker the other day. You can't gold plate a turd, but you can roll it in glitter. This brings me to my third point. You possess nothing more valuable than your integrity. I'll illustrate this with a personal example. I was the Air Force project pilot on the Boeing Bird of Prey. I'd flown over half of the program sorties. I was asked to fly the last flight with an audience that included the Deputy Secretary of Defense. The Bird of Prey, for those who haven't heard about it, was extremely challenged in performance. It was essentially like a single-engine mill-power T-38. That's as good as it got, and sometimes it was worse. It needed cool air temperatures to be able to fly. So our plan was to fly the first sortie right at sunrise, maybe a smidgen before, and then turn the airplane with only a partial fuel load for the second sortie to have sufficient performance to be able to take off. So the first sortie was uneventfully and successfully flown. It was brought to the parking location to be refueled. When I got into the cockpit for the second sortie, I noticed that instead of a partial fuel load, the tanks were full. There was no time to defuel. All I could do was start, taxi, and try to burn the fuel down on the runway. Unfortunately, I also knew that due to inlet airflow separation and compressor stalls, the engine was limited to 70% power when you were static. So the fuel didn't exactly go away quickly. I sat in takeoff position, running the engine as high as it could go with the outside air temperature rising faster than the fuel burning off. I knew the performance numbers were conservative. I also knew what we had briefed. I returned to parking. We were bitterly disappointed, but it was the right decision. If I had decided to go fly, the consequences for the rest of my life would have been enormous. It's likely that none of the good things that happened afterward, promotion, getting hired at Boeing, Kinchel Award, fellow SAT president, Doolittle Award, would have happened had that breach of integrity been part of my resume. Finally, I'll combine all 3 of these areas with another SATP president, Billy Flynn, telling his story of his time on the Eurofighter program. I know many experience with the Eurofighter. He came to Airbus Defense after an illustrious career with the Royal Canadian Air Force as one of the initial cadre on the CF-188 Hornet, amongst other types. He was flying a test mission on DA-001, in the early pre-production Eurofighter with very limited avionics. After completing a flying qualities test point, that's really all that airplane was good for, he headed to the tanker to get more fuel for another set of test points. The Eurofighter is a probe and drogue air refueling machine. Billy was an experienced probe and drogue receiver pilot with receiver time on the CF-5, the CF-188, and other airplanes. He had flying boom experience on the F-16. He knew how to air refuel. For some reason, he deviated from his normal practice of not looking at the basket and fixated on the drogue. And he stimulated a flight control pilot-induced oscillation that he had never experienced before, and he was an experienced Eurofighter pilot at that point. After landing, he discussed the problem with his flight controls engineer, who ran the data and came back all excited saying, "Yes, you really had a problem." Well, at that point, the Eurofighter was over 5 years into the test program and had never experienced the issue. Billy was convinced this was a latent snake in the grass flight control issue, waiting to bite some young pilot on a dark and stormy night. He'd been there himself. However, due to concerns between the program partners and the tenuous state of the overall political environment, the Berlin Wall had come down, the Cold War was over, making the program vulnerable to being part of the peace dividend. No one wanted to hear about a flight control problem on such a mature project. The issue became the Canadian problem. They put Billy Flynn's name on it. Then another test pilot duplicated the issue, and then another. Well, it became the test pilot problem, okay? Only these people looking for problems find it. That's kind of our job, but okay. Where only pilots looking for it would stimulate the issue artificially. He knew the problem was still out there, waiting for the right circumstances of inexperience and pilot gain. His integrity as a test pilot knew that it couldn't be swept under the carpet. His solution was to engage the customer behind the scenes to get the customer's pull, as well as the manufacturer's test pilot's push. He engaged a respected member of the customer operational pilots, only coincidentally also a trained test pilot, and briefed him on the circumstances of the PIO. The customer test pilot also found the problem and had sufficient connections on the government side of things to pull and get that latent issue fixed. I've said, be ready for anything. Sometimes it's even silly things you got to be ready for. Test is a very small community, and your integrity is your most valuable capital. Welcome to the test profession. Thanks to National Test Pilot School and J.B. Brown for asking me to speak. I really look forward to reading and hearing about all your accomplishments. We all expect great things. Thank you.
Craftily hidden behind the podium. Doug, please accept this little token of our appreciation for your time, words, your wisdom, and being a great friend. Thanks, Jimmy. I can't emphasize enough, if you take nothing away from Test Pilot School, bring your integrity. Great words, Doug. Thank you. So the latest count on online is 30 individuals or entities logged in. So you're being watched. Best behave. All right. So joining me to present the graduation materials on the stage, I have Luca Campello, who is our Chief Operating Officer. And Jason Paquin, our Head of Training. I can't tell you how much fun this is. You know, I have seen the ebb and flow. I've seen the stress. I've seen the fun. And you guys have worked very hard. And now it's time to relish in the glory of your accomplishments. Each graduate will receive a professional course graduation plaque and a certificate attesting to their qualification as a test pilot or flight test engineer. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present the professional course graduates. 2024A Test Pilot and Lead Flight Test Engineer Professional Course. You ain't seen nothing yet. Major Montanel Sioni. Israeli Air Force Fixed Wing Flight Test Engineer. Take left, shake right.
That's the way to do it. Good man.
Over here, over here.
Right.
The flow is enter and then exit. All right. Capitano Jean Matteo Canavasciolo. Italian Army, Rotary Wing Flight Test Engineer. Distinguished graduate.
Hand with the left or shake with the right.
You'd think we could train them, right? Flight Lieutenant Carl Stephen Evans, Royal Australian Air Force. Fixed wing flight test engineer. There's another test pilot whining in the background.
Future. See, there's a bit of a problem here. It says flight test engineer. And you're an other. Well done, Carl. Thank you.
Capitano Patrick Masso, Army. Rotary Wing Test Pilot.
Oh, careful. There's that. Well done. Well done. Good. Oh.
Flight Lieutenant Abhishek Anawale, Royal Australian Air Force. He and I even practiced in my office.
Well done. It's military style. You shake with the right hand. This is better.
Here, I'll hold it.
Look at how we're just going to make this simple. Here's my boy.
Keep going. Oh, yeah. You want Chris? Chris, yes.
Oh. Can you pronounce this one, JB? The next one.
I'm going to try.
Okay. Good luck.
I get no mercy around here. Flight Lieutenant Matthew Scott, Royal Australian Air Force. Fixed wing flight test engineer.
Well done. Oh, you'll get a hug. You get a special fudge hug. Well done, my friend. Cheers. Thanks, Jamie.
Capitano Niccolo Valli, Italian Air Force. Test pilot, distinguished graduate.
Well done.
Flight Lieutenant Ryan Webster, Royal Australian Air Force. Fixed wing flight test engineer.
There's an as well. It says flight test engineer, just like Carl's. So you're something there. So I got more. Well done.
Tente Alicio Arno, Italian Air Force. Fixed wing flight test engineer.
Well done, my friend. Thank you. There you go.
Mr. Daniel Granger. BAE Systems, fixed wing test pilot. Dan's been on the long course. He did the first half about 6 years ago. Couldn't quit. And now he's finished up.
Thank you very much. Well done. Well done. Awesome. We wore the same suit tonight, too. Well done. Right. Every time. 99 pounds.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
From our Flight Test Engineer Graduate Assistant Program, Ms. Caitlin Elizabeth Gunderson, Flight Test Engineer. Ms. Kelsey Krupika, Flight Test Engineer. I might mention that the Flight Test Engineer, the Graduate Assistant Program is very demanding and more so from industry. Caitlin's going to Northrop Grumman. Kelsey's going to be working for GE. And now we have a special presentation for Mr. Jason Kiefert of Gulfstream Corporation. Come on up, Jason.
We're making a sandwich. Yeah. You're the meat of the sandwich. So. Thank you for you. Thank you. Too lazy to fix it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
again, Jason.
Thank you.
You may be seated. Now it's time for the Master of Science degree diploma presentations. Joining me on stage is Dr. Juan Rodriguez, our Chief Academic Officer. Alessio Arno, Italian Air Force, fixed wing, Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering. Gian Matteo Cannavasciolo, Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering. Distinguished graduate. Carl Stephen Edwards, Master of Science, Flight Test and Evaluation. Caitlin Elizabeth Gunderson, MS, Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering. Patrick Masso, Master of Science, Flight Test and Evaluation. Abhishek Anawale, Master of Science, Flight Test Engineering. I got it out that time, Abhi. Matthew Caleb Scott, Master of Science, Flight Test Engineering. Martinel Cione, Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering. Niccolo Varelli, Master of Science, Flight Test Engineering, distinguished graduate. In absentia, we have the following graduates: Cat 2 test pilot or lead flight test engineer professional course, Rotary Wing; Maggiore Roberto Belluzzo, Italian Army, Rotary Wing test pilot; Maggiore Alessandro Garado, Italian Army, Rotary Wing test pilot; Lieutenant Marcus Krohn from WTD 61, Rotary Wing test pilot; and Herr Ferdinand Popp from German Aerospace Center, fixed wing flight test engineer. Jeff Trang, will you please join me on the stage for the presentation of the graduate awards? Bradley's first. The Ron Bradley Award for the Outstanding Flight Test Engineer graduate, Jean Matteo Canavaciola. The John Bishop Award for Outstanding Test Pilot Graduate, Niccolo Varelli. Hey, Australia, Italy's kind of kicking it, think about that. The National Test Pilot School Flight Test Instrumentation Award goes to Tommaso Dindo. So I'm going to work my way through this. The instrumentation installed on the Bell 429 helicopter during his capstone project consisted of 4 Witt motion inclinometers, which were attached to the flight controls in the cabin floor with Velcro strips. These inclinometers were used to record the flight control positions, aircraft attitudes, accelerations, and angular rates. Once installed, all the inclinometers were connected to the FTE tablet through the Witt Motion app, and all the recorded parameters were monitored in real time during the flights. Sir. Thanks, Jeff. Creative thought, out of the box. That's what we're looking for. To make remarks on behalf of the graduating class is Flight Lieutenant Ryan Webster of the Royal Australian Air Force. Hang on, we have no idea what's coming up next.
Ladies and gents, thanks for coming tonight. It's been a pleasure so far, so hopefully I can keep that up for you. So first, let's get one thing clear. I'm not here to dazzle you with my amazing aviation knowledge or smooth radio voice. But first of all, for those who don't know me, I'm Ryan, just an Aussie high-speed cheerleader who now somehow has a test pilot's school graduate degree. First of all, I'm deeply impressed. We all survived, thrived, and somehow made it through air conditioning wars, WANS tutorials, and S-plane diagrams. When we first arrived earlier in the year, there was definitely a sense of excitement, nerves, and a touch of fear. It was something about Fudge's scream thing. It was really weird. We got humbled pretty early on in the first week with a simple maths and physics exam, which continued to haunt us for about 4 months. We had a few challenges, such as language barriers, mostly just us Australians, to be honest. First of all, we flattened a helicopter's battery during ground testing and subsequently train wrecked the whole module. So that was pretty interesting. And how could we forget the glorious love triangle between Socio, Fudge, and Matt? After that, it was pretty smooth sailing, or at least so we thought. Come July, everyone returned from their summer break. After it kind of fell apart. We joined our 2024 Bravo compatriots to finally find out what they meant when they said PNFQ will be different. Just throwing it out there, a bit of me was like, shit, what have I got myself into? And dare I say, I probably wasn't alone with that. As the weeks went on, we found our groove as a class and started to learn a few things about testing Fudge and Wiper's patience, finding Jez's sensitivity to being shrunk, finding out from Fudge that we're not actually doctors. We also discovered Lex's disappointment because Jason invited to take him out into Vegas, and he was severely disappointed when he rocked up at a restaurant. All this to say, let's dive into the rock show of characters of 2024 Alpha. So first of all, I'll start off with Socio, our rotary wing maestro. Your love for academics and Fudge is inspiring. If patience with Fudge counts as a flight test, you've nailed it. Never forget your background. Matt, you win the award for most relaxed, I think. Your passion for bananas is incredibly intense, but I'm really surprised we don't have bananas tonight. I'm sure we'll see. The voice of the people. He also holds the records for the fastest time to exit the classroom at the end of a lecture at the end of the day. So keep that up. It's pretty inspiring. Abby, our elusive photographer and grey man. Your talent for making Mateo feel awkward during after-flight photography is amazing. It's genuinely impressive. But your ability to stay under the radar has been impressive as well. Matan, you're the friendliest and definitely the most punctual. If there were awards for most holidays and long drives, you'd probably take the cake. Carl, excel in questions are your superpowers, but we're still wondering, where the hell do you go on the weekend? Alessio, the head chef. We know academic weeks are your favorite. You love them going until 6 p.m. It's just desired. But we've all benefited from your culinary prowess. Teo, our boldest CrossFit guy and the silent assassin. But one thing, please, you got to stop with the up-looking cable videos. It's weird. It's too much. I can't take it anymore. Paco, the man of few words, but always rocking a smile and ready to throw a simple yet somehow hilarious reply. Keep that up. Finally, Kate, our queen of snacks and our Starbucks ambassador. Without you, this class might have crumbled from low blood sugar and no caffeine. Thanks. All this to say, let's not forget the lessons we've learned along the way. The coffee machine is the real MVP. Without it, testing Fudge and Wiper's patience might have turned into a full-blown mutiny. Additionally, a system is not able, but pretty sure we were. Walking into a brief is one thing. Walking out surviving a roast from an instructor is another. Testing isn't just about planes. It's about testing patience, perseverance, and maybe even your classmates' bandwidth with rowing questions. Additionally, wiper. No one understands your whiteboard drawings. No one ever will. But don't ever stop because it's entertaining. Vikrant's not here tonight, but I think everyone from the fixed wing class will at least remember Flutter by him violently flapping his wings. All this to say, huge thanks to the maintenance team, Jake, David, Gabe, Adrian, Rob, and George, among many others, for keeping the fleet in one piece and dealing with our impatient and stressed selves as we get to the aircraft. To Bree and Diane, thanks for always being the smiles as we enter the building and looking after us and our families throughout the year. You've truly made this an enjoyable experience. To Josh and life support, thanks for always being the place to hide and switch off to absolute nonsense. To Luca and Maria and Ops, thanks for always looking out for our morale, bargaining with the instructors, and the glorious barbecues. To the GAs, Kelsey and Olivia, thanks for your constant dedication for helping us in every way possible. It's amazing. To Veronica, Chris, and the logistics team, your support doesn't go unnoticed. Thanks for making the function seamless to us. To Mojave Services, where you got to know where you live isn't just a motto, it's more of a survival tool. Thanks for dealing with our questionable radio calls and weird demands throughout the year. To the instructors, this is going to be a long one. Juan, Jez, Jeff, Wiper, Franger, Doug, JK, Nick, Russ, Lex, Andrea, Huda, JB, Damien, Vikrant, Pedro, Huda, Manuela, Borja, and the Gulfstream folks. You've been our guides throughout the year, much to your own disappointment at times, I'm sure. Thanks for everything. To our Top Gun patch, test pilot, JTAC, human factors engineer, low-level strike guy, surgeon, D, man of titanium, fighter, lover of volleyball that we recently found out, banana connoisseur, and owner of professionals, Fudge. Thanks for your constant disappointment, humor, and somehow supportive nature. Andrea, I can attest to you how much of an asset you are to the school. Your memes and experience will definitely be missed at the school, and we wish you all the best at Joby. JB, I'm sure I can speak for everyone in this room when I say how much of a pleasure it is to have worked with you. Your wealth of experience, your passion for celebration, and your place in the flight test community is amazing. I'll never forget watching the GoPro footage as the MiG went off the runway, and all we can hear you calmly say is, well, that's what the airplane's made for. Congratulations on retirement. You've earned it. To my classmates and future graduates, thanks for laughing at my jokes and dealing with my stupidity. Enjoy the rest of course and look out for each other. Share the gouge, but maybe don't completely. Let's not forget the real MVPs here today. The families, partners, and friends. It's been a hell of a year, dealing with our stress, long days, and you've all managed to hold the fort. We most definitely couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. To that end, I'll leave with one final tip. Stay curious. I'm going to pass on to Teo. I'll now pass on to Teo and Sasha for the Rotary Ring Award.
Okay. So me and Sasha were having a beer, and I was kind of scared because the last time we had a beer together in our house, he said, "Hey, I'm becoming father." I was like, "Hey, not the second time." He said, "No, I got an idea. Why we don't give a prize to the best instructor and best FTE?" I was like, "Yeah, why we don't twist things?" And Bree said, "Hey, you got so much confidence that as student you give a prize." I was like, "Yeah, that's how the Italian do." So, please, Andrea, come on stage to have the best instructor. And Vigran is not here. And this is a small item for the 145, but it's not the reason why it's grounded. So
Abby, is there a video? Yes, no? What do you say we show it? Where's Abby? Wave your hand, man. I don't care. See. No? All right, we're going to press ahead. This is your chance. Okay. I want to take a minute to thank the staff here at the Hellenic Center for their hospitality. It was a great meal. All of the service and everything was wonderful. So thank you very much. Would like to thank Chris Collins and Diego Castellanos for providing the IT support. Oh, now Abby shows up. You want to show it now, Abby?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. We'll pause right there. And the class has a video to show. Hang on. We don't know what this looks like either. Help. Cut them loose with a camera. You never know what's going to happen. So also a deep and heartfelt thanks to Bree Wyatt, Diane Malo, and Veronica Gonzalez for all their administrative support in putting this event. And a special thanks to Christian Watt and Colin Duke, who jumped in at the last minute to help with the chaos. So thank you, folks. Okay, most importantly, everybody listen up. Okay, this is it. When we're done, all of the graduates, please meet up here for a group picture. Okay, because you're going to go to the Four Winds and return to places around the world. This will be the last chance to get all of you together and get a happy snap. So moms, dads, aunts, uncles, wives, come on up and help them take these pictures, all right? In closing, I want to thank all of you for attending tonight's graduation ceremony. These individuals have completed a grueling course of study involving personal skill and advanced engineering concepts. You graduates have every right to be proud. You've accomplished a lot. However, be humble. This will keep essential paths of communication open to you that will be invaluable. What you've learned here will serve you well as you go forward to enjoy what I am certain will be challenging and rewarding flight test careers. Please be safe. You cannot be replaced. We have one last item of business. At this time, I'd like to call Jeff Trang and Luca Campello up here.
So in aviation, it is necessary to always know who is in control of the aircraft. This is essential for two primary reasons. First and foremost, to ensure that someone is in positive command of the aircraft. And secondly, to ensure that multiple individuals are not wrestling over control. With the ceremonial control stick, JB, the current president of the NTPS, will pass control over to Luca Campello with the words, "You have the controls." Luca will assume the position of NTPS president with the words, "I have the controls." Congratulations, Luca, and good luck.
Well, I don't want to steal your celebration. I just want to thank you, the chairman of the board, Pat Garman, and all the board, to trust me to do this. Thank you very much. Jeff, you stuck with me. JB, thank you for building the basis of NTPS. Will be very easy for me to make NTPS better. And thank you in advance all the staff, because you're going to help me to make this place better. Thank you. You will be the best school in the world. Thank you. And congratulations to everybody.
So what a fantastic evening. You know, graduations are always special events, but they're even more special when family and friends and special guests and VIPs can be here. So thanks everyone for being here on this very, very special night. I really applaud you for doing so. Just a couple of words for the graduates tonight. First and foremost, I've never worn a tuxedo on my birthday, so I really want to go thank you for going out of your way to make my birthday a black tie event. It was really great. Secondly, I'm enormously proud of you guys. This is the first class that I've seen from start to begin, and I've watched you struggle. We've challenged you academically. We've challenged you in the cockpit. Some of you even had to fly with me, heaven forbid. But you've achieved all that, and it's a tough class, and you did well. This was a really strong group of individuals, and you should be proud of what you've accomplished, especially given that most of you are thousands and thousands of miles from home. But, you know, we're leaving you here tonight with a license to be flight test pilots and flight test engineers. What we're not leaving you with is a license to stop learning. This is a serious business. We're always introducing new technology, new things, and we expect you to learn and share and grow. And hopefully we'll hear some of your lessons learned and see you in the future. So congratulations. I'm really proud of you, as I said. I'd also like to recognize JB and Lisa one last time. You know, they've been here with the team for nearly a decade. As I said, as a retirement farewell, he's not just been a leader, but he's been a tour de force. And for those students of you that had the opportunity to fly and work with JB, I hope you can really appreciate how fortunate you are. So you're at the tail end of thousands of students, and you should be proud of that as well. So I know many of you are going home. Some of you are going on holidays. Wherever God takes you, good luck, Godspeed, and Merry Christmas.